Welcome to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue brought to you exclusively on malcolmpresents.com with myself, Malcolm Berman, and my co-host, Deborah Manning. I don't want to say good morning, good afternoon, good day.
Good day. How are you, Malcolm?
I'm fine. Getting a little nervous of what's happening with the world, but let's talk about incidental things first. How are you?
I'm great. Beautiful weather today. Let me turn my phone off because you're going to be listening to my security system as the Ring doorbells go through. It's beautiful. It's 72 degrees.
72. Wow.
We fortunately were able to avoid the big storms that have been coming on through. And it's been very interesting because once again, we're right up against the Appalachians. And as a result, everything seems to go above us, and we don't get a lot of the heavy duty storms. Although, once again, we got 6.5 inches, which was unheard of back in January the 15th. That was a lot of snow. We normally don't get that much snow, but it's beautiful. The daffodils are out. We've got to have close to 100 daffodils. And what's so crazy wonderful about daffodils, and especially here, you plant a couple of daffodil bulbs, and we did it about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's just remarkable. I know this sounds stupid, but who cares? Daffodils, they multiply. So the following year, you may have one bulb. The following year, you'll have 2 bulbs. Year after year, you get 3 and 4 bulbs. Each one of those bulbs then produce flowers, 4, 5, or 6 flowers at a time. So I'm just, it's so different than California. I'm a native Californian. I'm an former investigative news reporter, what have you. So I deal with the facts. So when I start to wax on about beautiful things like daffodils, please kind of snap me out of it.
No, that's what's the poem? I don't think it's Wordsworth. I something with daffodils. I wander lonely as a cloud.
It was my mom's favorite flower, so that's why I planted it. We don't have a lawn in the front. Once again, I will always be a Californian, even though I'm here in Greenville, South Carolina. I've been here now for 6 years, and we bought this house sight unseen and just came across the United States on Highway 40 with a Penske truck, a 16-foot rental Penske truck, and our 2 cats and our Honda Element. Came across the 2,400 miles. And when we got here, what was great about it was that there was no lawn. So we're able to plant native plants and bulbs and all kinds of things in both the back and the front. So, I mean, I'm having a ball. The house itself is 70 years old, which is, thank goodness, older than me, which is nice.
Yeah, but not older than me.
No, beautiful little brick bungalow. So it's very typical here in South Carolina. A lot of brick houses, small houses. If it's 1,000 square feet, I would be surprised. But we do have a basement, which does help if we have any type of tornado warnings, which we do get. But as I say, beautiful day. How's it in California today?
Actually, California is chilly, but nice. It's in the mid 60s.
Oh my!
It's like in the morning, it's like the late 30s, and I'm talking about like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It's in the late 30s, early 40s. Then I've been getting up later because it's too cold for me to walk or run. So I get out about 9:30, which is like in the mid 50s, and then it goes to the 60s.
Well, you had a run. In fact, it's funny because my brother's still in Santa Barbara, and he was reporting that some of the coldest weather of the season came through the last couple of days. And I mean, they were talking about snow in the Santa Barbara Mountains. Santa Barbara Mountains might be 2,800 feet. They got some snow, which was rather interesting.
Well, they had a hailstorm in Pasadena.
I saw that.
I think I spoke to you about that. But what I was going to say, I have a show called The Many Shades of Green. Actually, it's only on audio on my station now. But the Victoria, she's a specialist on lawns and gardens.
Ooh, nice.
And she talks about the flowers, and each tree and each flower attracts a certain bird or insect species. You should take a look at it. I did it yesterday.
I will. It's very good. And it's funny because now I'm starting to really get into bulbs. I bought some lily of the valley bulbs from Costco, and some peony bulbs that we're going to go ahead and plant and what have you. So I have both a sun garden and a shade garden, and then of course tons and tons of roses. But it's different back here in Southern California. I was so used to the drought, and even though I grew up there, I mean, it was always, I mean, Southern California is desert, for heaven's sakes. In fact, that was, before we got the water that came in from the Owens Valley. But
Right.
here we get regular rain. I would say we get 1 to 2 inches about every other week, I would say. So, for example, last year they talked about the drought, and the drought for them is 40 to 45 inches of rain, which we got.
Wow.
And they're talking about a drought, which I said, I don't care. I'm happy to have the rain, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, that's
So it's been an interesting week, has it not?
yeah, what happened this week?
Oh, I don't know. I just, kind of woke up in this dream, and all of a sudden it was like, huh, we're back into a war in Europe. We haven't seen that in how many years? 60, 70 years?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
When did it end? 1945?
Yep, 45, 46, you bet. And we're back into it at this point right now. This is day number 3, I believe, of Vladimir Putin's invasion of the Ukraine. And fortunately, my buds got out, thank heavens. But a lot of people didn't. So sanctions were announced by President Biden yesterday. And once again, I may not agree with him politically in a couple of instances, his progressive agenda and what have you. And I certainly want this situation to calm down. But I don't know how you can continue to be so passive aggressive against Vladimir Putin, who, along with China, has made it no bones about it that he wants to reconstitute the old Soviet Union, as China wants to reconstitute Taiwan into China. I am concerned. I'm worried. I am worried, and I am also concerned about the fact that while we're sitting at inflation of over 7%, that President Biden indicated the fact that there will be additional price increases, and that we will pay the price for defending our values. So I think that's fine for people who can afford it. For many of us who are on fixed incomes, and we're forced to go on fixed incomes thanks to the pandemic. I know that we had to shut down our handyman business because we couldn't get insurance, for of all things. So we've been on life support for about a 2-year period of time. And I have to tell you, I mean, it makes a big difference. And having to deal with gasoline prices that have gone from basically about $2 a gallon up to $3.40 is tough. So we've made a lot of adjustments, and the problem is that we're being asked to make additional adjustments. And I just wonder, I don't understand the passivity. I don't understand the weakness from the president. I think that the sanctions could have been far more productive and far firmer. So,
You mentioned weakness. Now, what would strength mean? What would a strong president do?
well, I think at this point right now, I think these sanctions banning transactions with 2 of the Russian banks, fine, but he's not banning international transactions. That's handled through what's called the SWIFT
With
transaction, SWIFT. That's for international banking and what have you. He did not put a sanction on that. And I would have also, if I were putting together sanctions, I would have made sure that all the credit card companies that would have stopped any type of cash transference back and forth involving Russia. The other thing I tell you, I really would have done I would have said to the country, I am reversing my executive order from day one. We're going to go ahead and rev up the oil and gas situation here in production here in the United States, rather than taking it from the strategic petroleum reserves, which is designed to, like a bank account, if there's something serious and horrific, that we would have the gas and the oil that we needed. We have the supplies, Malcolm. We were independent energy wise. And if we would just simply go ahead and open up the spigot at this point, I think that is the strong thing to do. I mean, I guess I was also, and I don't mean to be droning on here, but I don't understand when you have former Secretary of State John Kerry, who's now the energy czar, saying that he certainly hopes that all of the bombing that's taking place by Russia into the Ukraine is not going to endanger the climate controls, that he's worried about the smoke. And I just find that just so callous, so callous.
Well, I hadn't heard that. The thing that frightens me, of course, is when Putin mentions that if there's too much resistance to what I'm doing, we always have the nuclear option. That is totally frightening, because then, as they say, one nuclear bomb can ruin your day. You don't have to worry about the climate control.
Well, I mean, we grew up in an age that you remember the duck and cover drills. I know that I remember them when I was a kid. I was in third, fourth grade. We did the duck and cover. Remember, the teacher would say, "Okay, kids, we're going to do our practice for nuclear war."
Yeah.
Okay. What are we going to do? We're going to duck underneath our desk and we're going to cover our heads. So 1,
Right,
2, 3, duck and cover. No wonder it warped our psyches, for crying out loud. Do you remember that? You remember duck and cover?
Oh yeah, like if we're underneath the desk, it's going to protect us.
Yeah, and you had to cover your head, because then she would go around through the desk. Deb, you haven't covered your head. Okay, I'm covering my head now. Very good.
But how do I protect myself from the nuclear waste?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, but speaking about that, Chernobyl is non-operative, right?
That's
Is
right.
that totally dead?
Yeah.
Do they have any nuclear waste buried there?
Well, I think they have something buried there, and I have to congratulate the Russians that apparently they control Chernobyl. I don't know, that was a very good strategic decision to go ahead and invade Chernobyl and have troops stationed there. I feel sorry for the soldiers, but yeah, it's apparently been decontaminated and what have you. So I don't mean to joke.
And how about the waste storage? Because that's always been the big problem. We were talking about nuclear power for, instead of the carbon footprint. But the question is, where do you store the waste?
Well, it's the same issue that we're going to have with batteries. Even the small household batteries that we all use, there's always a little bit of leakage. And of course, the big concern now is leakage, not only of, we talk about nuclear waste, but you're talking about simple battery waste going into the water supply. So yes, there is a cost for human beings living on the planet.
I don't think the Earth is meant for human habitation.
Well, for the time being, I'm perfectly happy being here.
I'm just wondering. I think until recently, and I'm pretty much aware. When I had dead batteries, I threw them in the garbage. Even the 8-volt, 9-volt. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, they're supposed to be recycled.
Right, and the same thing with my old pills. I never really realized that old pills you're supposed to, give to a certain party that was, whether it's a pharmacy or the hospital.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with it, but you're not supposed to throw it in garbage.
Yeah, and because once again, they're worried about the water supply, and especially worried about people putting pills down the toilet and flushing them down the toilet, hurting the water supply.
I used to do.
Yeah, it's funny because here in South Carolina, they, for example, don't reuse glass. And I'm so used to doing my thing with glass and with paper and what have you, but for some strange reason, they don't want to recycle glass, which seems very, very odd to me. Once again, I may be in South Carolina, but since I was born and raised in California, you just get used to conserving and reusing things and recycling things. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for this family, I know. But
Well, the frightening thing, I think, is more plastics. I don't think plastics can be recycled.
well,
So,
yeah, they can be recycled. And in fact, you're seeing old tires, for example, being recycled along with plastic bottles, and they're being used for road repair. A company in Ohio is doing that, which I thought is just absolutely completely brilliant. That's what needs to be done. But I agree with you. We refuse to use plastic water bottles. Everybody's buying all these water bottles in plastic. Well, it just doesn't make any sense to me. We use glass and we reuse the glass. So every little bit helps. It really does. I know it sounds cornball, but it just
no,
every bit helps.
well, it's the old Confucius thing. A trip of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
That's right.
If you recycle your glass and I recycle my glass, and put us by a few million people or 20 million people, that's a lot of glass.
It's a lot of glass.
In
And it's
fact,
fun.
it reminds me of the days when I was a youth, and we used to go on the beach and collect bottles. And
Oh, yes.
at that
Oh,
time,
yes.
we got 2 cents a piece. Well,
Yes.
you're beach here. We got 2 cents a piece for glasses. We gave them to candy stores or groceries. But
That's
now,
right.
the grocery stores, they only take the money when you have, and this is $5 for that bottle. Yeah, but how do I get it back? Oh, don't bring it to us. You have to bring it to the recycle center. And the
I know.
recycle center has, a line that's 2 hours long.
I know. Once again, you're lamenting for the good old days. I knew it for 2-cent bottles, but you know what? It actually was fun because when you were a kid, when you were collecting all those bottles, I mean, sometimes you had 50 cents or 60 cents. And I mean, you could go in. We used to go to, and we used to live down in Dana Point, and my brother and I would go ahead and pedal our bikes over to Vic's Market. And at Vic's Market, you could buy, of all things, the greatest thing of all. I couldn't believe I did this. Pork rinds. You can buy pork rinds. I don't know how I managed to keep my blood pressure low the older I get, but for some reason I was able to. But pork rinds was the only thing that we could buy with all of our bottle
Well,
refunds.
that's because remember you rode your bike down there, so you got the exercise.
That's true.
But you know what? Again, going back to some of my other shows, I have a show called the Tush Twins.
Oh, I just saw that. Yes, I haven't had a chance to look at that.
Oh, that's actually that's two ladies who when my phone is ringing, but it's two ladies who have been friends. It's Maxine, who I do several shows with, and Paula, which we call the redhead. And it's two gals that have been friends since their mother strolled them around with their carriages in Brighton Beach.
Oh my God.
The old times. But Paula had been sick with the virus, so she wasn't on the show this week. So Maxine and I got on the show, just the two of us. And we were talking about things that piss you off in today's society and how things were better were they really better in the old days? Because we were talking about the collecting nickels. It was 2 cents, I remember.
Yep, that's true. What were some of the other things that ticked her off?
Holding on to you don't get an operator anymore. You don't get a live person. When you call a major company, you get a recording.
Yeah.
And then and some of them, they have you holding for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you lose a contact. Or you get an operator and you say, I like to speak to so-and-so. Oh, that's another line. And they put you back on the recording. No, don't put me in another recording because you're going to lose me. And all of a sudden.
Well, I must say that we use Amazon quite a bit because once again, we're down to 1 tank of gas for the entire month. So I use Amazon quite a bit. We have a lot of deliveries that come here. but I had a problem with one of the deliveries. So I got a chance to call customer service and I had a question about it, what have you. Every time I call customer service, what's interesting about Amazon, though, you actually do get a real live person. And I've talked to people, obviously, in India, of course, in the Philippines, of course. And my latest one is Victoria out of South Africa. And it's very interesting. You get into these conversations because, of course, South Africa was where the Omicron started back, what, about almost a year ago, I guess it was. And I was talking to her about it, and she said, I don't understand how you folks got so wrapped up in this and so upset. And I said, well, it's highly contagious and you've got a vulnerable population. And she says, yeah, I know that. She says, but it really wasn't that bad. And we kind of feel awful that we actually reported it because like it was just like an upgraded flu. And I said, well, it filled our hospitals and some people died and all that. And she says, yeah, just like regular flu. So it was very interesting getting the South African, just a normal everyday person, getting her perspective on things. So we vowed to keep in touch. I do have her telephone number. She has mine. But it's interesting because a lot of the outsourcing that these companies are doing, and if you actually get a real life person and you can make connection with some of these folks, it's interesting to see what their perspectives are. In the Philippines, they had a terrible situation with COVID, and they had to shut down almost everything for almost as long as we had to. And you could hear the fear in their voices. And when we would conclude our business, they would say, please be safe and don't get this horrible pandemic and this horrible COVID and all of that. But it was just it's interesting because when you actually get a real life person, that's one of the positive things about some of these customer service phones.
Until you get the live person, could be like 20 minutes. And I call up AT&T a lot because they always send me the wrong bill. I have them for my television and for my phone.
Yeah.
And inevitably they send me the wrong bill. So generally, I would say about 50-60% of the times I get to the Philippines. About 20% of the times I get to Jamaica.
Oh, nice.
And I've gotten a few times, probably like 5-10% of the time, gotten to Egypt.
Ooh, how interesting.
And I talk to the people because I ask the accent, where's that accent from? Well, you know me from the show, and I'm very curious.
Sure.
So I like speaking to people.
Sure.
But it's when you're put on hold and you hear the music for 20 minutes. And we're also talking about trying to get a doctor's appointment now.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was out for my ophthalmologist, and I was talking to the nurse. I said, how come it take me a month and a half to get to the ophthalmologist? And they always been busy. I said, I know you've been busy, but you don't take COVID patients. COVID has been, tying up the hospitals.
Sure.
But he's an ophthalmologist. He doesn't have the patients.
Interesting.
And I said, does that mean that there's, there should be more doctors, more ophthalmologists? And sort of like she had to admit, yeah, we're sure, but we're trying to hire more doctors.
There you go. Which reminds me, how is COVID there in Southern California? You're in the Sherman Oaks area, Van Nuys area.
It's they're starting to do away with all the masks and things.
Oh, thank heavens.
But let's see what happens. I mean, it's been way down, but it seems like what I get frightened about is the people that I see that are getting the COVID or people who have been vaccinated.
Yeah.
There seems to be, I don't want to give myself, I don't know, the Yiddish word of kanahara.
Okay.
You heard the word of kanahara?
I can imagine.
Yeah, you say you give yourself a kanahara means you're inviting the evil to come and
there you go.
Get you because you say good things, like I'm saying.
There you go.
I think people might have like a natural immunity to this, and some people have a much lower immunity. And
they're talking about the fact that people who have a little extra weight, actually who are considered to be obese, and also diabetes and what have you, and they're suspecting at this point right now that the COVID and many viruses live off the extra sugar that's in the bloodstream. So that's a possibility. That's a possibility.
Well, as we were talking about, the thing that they have, which there's a reason that people say is the practice of medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not a science. I practice. Every time I'm getting a new pill to take, they say, well, try this, see if it gets better. Let me know if, and then you see on all the commercials, well, if you take this pill, you might get this and that and the other thing, and you might die, and you might give it to your children. And it's, I don't want to take the pill because taking them, the remedy is worse than the disease itself.
Well, I do fear the lack of the situation here with, for example, the CDC. There seems to be evidence that they're withholding a number of bits of data. In fact, I understand that Pfizer has asked for a 75-year moratorium on releasing information about after effects from the booster and what have you. Once again, I got both my husband and I got both shots, plus we got a booster. And we've had some side effects on it, which we've reported to our doctors. But I once again, the CDC apparently is withholding a lot of information. And I know we just need to have people be upfront and candid with the American public. We were owed that, don't you think, Malcolm? Don't you think?
But the problem is with this misinformation and things that's going on, you get 2 out of 1 million that have a side effect of the heart murmur or, and all of a sudden that's blown up. Oh, you shouldn't take it because it gives heart murmurs.
Well, I think that if the CDC would go ahead, quantify the information and say, sure enough, out of the 5 million that we gave, we had 2 heart murmurs.
Right.
I think that would be perfectly fine. Excuse me, I'm going to cough.
Okay.
It's not COVID.
You have my permission to cough. How's Fish doing?
He's doing fine. We had a little bit of a excuse me, a little bit of a medical scare. But what's interesting also about here in South Carolina, it's attracted some really top-notch doctors, surgeons, and general practitioners. And once again, just taking care of business as we get older, my dear. I mean, I think we'll end up doing rather fine because the lack of stress, because the affordability factor back here in South Carolina is fantastic. It makes a huge difference to us. We just couldn't afford California any longer. And I worry about you and Anna, to be very honest with you. I know everybody now seems to be, not being able to buy. Folks are having to rent, and being a renter is tenuous at best.
Yeah, except in certain places we have rent control. Like I live in a rent control place, so it goes up 3% a year.
Good.
But actually, which I feel sorry for my landlord. The last 2 years, he hasn't been able to raise the rent.
Yeah.
Frozen.
How's he doing?
I mean, he's doing better than I'm doing, but the question is, all his repairs and things, they're not, they go up. I mean, when he calls the plumbers, when he calls the, electricians, when he buys supplies, they go up, but yet his rent is not going up, except when you rent, someone moves and you rent the apartment again, then it goes off rent control.
Yeah.
Then you take the market.
What do you think? What do you think the solution should be? Should we do rent control? Should we not do rent control? What do you think?
As a tenant, you shouldn't do rent control. Where you probably should have rent control over units. I think over a certain amount of units. Like if you have if someone buys an apartment house or it has maybe 10 units in there, maybe you shouldn't have rent control because that guy got expenses and he's a small owner. If you have something that has 100 units, the guy probably has money.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting concept because I feel the same way because I've been a renter. I was a renter for in my college days and what have you, and I finally became a buyer, and it's getting more and more expensive. You know that the Fed is going to be increasing interest rates. Looks like the 10-year is starting to go up above 2%, and now that that's going to happen, we're getting a refinance just to kind of shore down everything, pay off bills and blah blah blah, and the rates have started to really, really climb. But once again, as I've mentioned to all of your viewers and listeners here, please start to consolidate your debts. Take the lowest balance credit card, regardless of what the interest rate is, and start to pay that off, and then take that same amount of money and start paying off the next group of credit cards. I think we're in for some really tough times. And unfortunately, it's going to be people like you and me, the normal average American, that's really going to have to watch out for ourselves.
The only thing I'm really stuck with credit right now is a student loan that I took out for my kids.
Yeah.
And that's been, I think I haven't paid it in the last year because it's, and I think they extended it till May or something.
Yeah.
But then it comes back. And well, it's a fixed rate also. I think it's like 6.9% or something, which ain't bad.
That's not bad. Well, ask for forbearance, my dear. Ask for forbearance. You'll probably get it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to say, I'm just a poor man on Social Security.
That's right. And I'll attest, I'll vouch for you.
Right. But anyway, my dear, would you believe our time is up?
No, I don't believe our time is
Another
up.
half hour well spent.
Well, thank you. You know what? I always enjoy speaking with you, Malcolm. We go back a long period of time, and we may have different.
Don't remind me.
Oh, we might have differing views, but we come up with, you know, some good solid solutions, and we need that. And my best to you and your entire family. My best to Anna.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, you're invited to a party over my son's 27th birthday. It'll be next Sunday.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
And then my baby, my 25-year-old, is moving out with his girlfriend on Sunday also.
Oh my goodness.
And then my birthday is in a week, March 8th.
It is.
Yeah, just a funny story before we leave.
Yeah.
Anna and I decided we're going to be cremated.
Okay.
Because, you know, I mean, I don't want to be buried in the ground. You put in a box buried in the ground and spend, $20,000 for a box.
Yeah. Us too. So
I don't know how much cremation is, but the other day I got a postcard from the Neptune Society.
Okay.
And they're having like luncheons over, around the neighborhood.
Okay.
To tell us about their programs and how much it is. So one happens to be in my birthday.
Oh.
So Anna said, good, I'll take you out to lunch for your birthday. Well, thank you. We're talking about my cremation. And that wonderful note, have a great week.
I will. Thank you, my dear.
By the way, you're listening to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com. And you can go we're on demand, so you can listen to this show and other shows. And I don't know if you like what we're talking about, but let us know if you do, if you don't, because we talk about everything and nothing.
Absolutely.
Jerry Seinfeld. Anyway, have a great week. Send my love to Fish.
I have my love to Anna. Bye-bye now.